Welcome back. Conspiracy theorists launched into overdrive within an hour of Saturday's shocking news that millionaire financier Jeffrey Epstein died by an apparent suicide while being held in a New York federal jail on charges of sex trafficking minors. The stunning report of his death and the many high-powered people he had connections to provided plenty of fodder for unsubstantiated theories to brew. But it was the president who added fuel to the fire when he retweeted a baseless claim that tied Epstein's death to the Clinton family. This type of behavior is nothing new for Donald Trump. He has long trafficked in conspiracy theories. The Washington Post's Aaron Blake laying out a few of those. Trump promoted birtherism. He tied Ted Cruz's dad to the JFK assassination. He called global warming a Chinese hoax. He called former Clinton administration official Vince Foster's suicide, quote, very fishy. Aaron, Frank, and the table are back. Aaron, it is, though, almost as if there is no ceiling to the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, and this situation was almost a perfect storm. I think we all saw a lot of people, especially on social media, who were pretty comfortable early on, at least floating the idea that there was something suspicious about this apparent suicide by Jeffrey Epstein. Of course, the president, too, also has a personal stake here in that he has an Epstein tie of his own. So, you know, when the president has some kind of a liability or an alleged liability, he'll often try and turn that on other people who maybe have, try to make them have the same liability. So when people start attaching this whole thing, this whole Epstein thing to the president, it was probably only a matter of time before he was going to attach this whole thing to the Clintons. And I think that on the list of those conspiracy theories that the president has trafficked in over the course of the last 4 years and even beyond that, this is certainly one of the most pitched ones, but it bears a lot of similarities to the other ones, including, of course, the Vince Foster situation.
Yeah, I mean, it may be true that it was only a matter of time, but this happened with lightning speed. It was like within an hour or two he was retweeting this.
It's Donald Trump's natural impulse to go with unfounded, pure speculation, do whatever you can to try to weaponize lack of information and distrust in the government.
The problem, and we've talked about this before, is that, we all sort of become a little bit immune to it, right? We shrug our shoulders. That's Donald Trump being Donald Trump. But at least a few of the 2020 Democratic candidates who were out on the trail, they were almost all in Iowa this weekend, said, wait a minute, this is more than Donald Trump being Donald Trump. And I want to play a couple of those for you.
He's doing is dangerous. He's giving life to not just conspiracy theories, but really whipping people up into anger and worse against different people in this country.
This is another example of our president using this position of public trust to attack his political enemies with unfounded conspiracy theories.
This is dangerous, unequivocally making the case that we can't shrug our shoulders at this.
You know, if the president is going to retweet videos from, like, comedians, could he pick like, Chris Rock or something else? Like, I mean, he tweets out a conspiracy theory by a right-wing comedian and then uses that as his response to the death of somebody who was under the watchful eye, supposedly, of our Department of Justice. Like, there's a whole criminal justice aspect to this of, like, goodness gracious, shouldn't they have done a better job? It's actually very difficult for someone to commit suicide while they're in prison. This is something that we should all be concerned about. Not just for the justice standpoint, but how our prisons actually operate. But it's not new. And I think in a lot of different levels, because let's look, there's all sorts of crazy conspiracy theories I've read. I've gone down all sorts of deep, dark holes on the web, right? There's all sorts of nutty things that I've seen. But if you are the kind of person who can entertain the idea that under the Trump administration that somehow the Clintons sent a group of super ninjas in there and killed this guy, like under the watch of this presidency, and got away with it, then you're probably not someone who even votes.
In a jail known as the Guantanamo of jails. Frank Figliuzzi, I want to get your reaction to something that Charlie Warzel wrote, a really smart piece in the New York Times. And he says the dueling hashtags, hashtag Clinton body count and hashtag Trump body count, and their attendant toxicity are a grim testament to our deeply poisoned information ecosystem, one that's built for speed and designed to reward the most incendiary impulses of its worst actors. It has ushered in a parallel reality unrooted in fact and helped to push conspiratorial thinking into the cultural mainstream. And with each news cycle, the system grows more efficient, entrenching its opposing camps. The poison spreads. Frank?
So, Chris, just about 3 months ago, FBI intelligence analysts issued a warning. They said that they see danger in these conspiracy theories. And you might ask yourselves, well, why would FBI intel analysts be concerned about political conspiracies? Because they're seeing the conspiracies resonate among very dangerous individuals and groups, and that's causing the alarm bells to ring. So, look, conspiracies need to be countered with truth. As you said, if someone, and has been said by the panel, if someone actually believes that an Attorney General DOJ-controlled federal lockup in New York somehow was breached by Clintons to get in and kill a man who had evidence against high-powered people, including lots of Republicans, there's a problem there. And there's another problem with the speed with which conspiracy theories spread today, and that is foreign power engagement in them. The Mueller report actually singled out Russian social media propaganda aimed at fueling conspiracies, racially dividing us. Oxford did a study saying 4 out of 5 of Russian-attributed Twitter accounts were aimed at racial divide and conspiracy theories. We need to watch what we're saying, where we're getting our news from, and understand we can be easily duped. The facts need to counter the lies.
Easily duped. The headline in the Washington Post today, which has done a remarkable job of keeping track of what the president says, he has made now 12,019 false or misleading claims over 928 days. This is as of August 5th. He averages about 13 fishy claims a day, as they put it. But, Jonathan, since he passed the 10,000 mark, he has not been chastened by the fact that the Washington Post is tracking this. In fact, he is now at an average of 20 claims a day since then.
He's just hitting his stride. The president, look, first of all, this moment was sort of ripe for conspiracy theories, right? I mean, Epstein has powerful friends on both sides of the aisle, powerful friends overseas. There are lots of very powerful men linked to, allegedly, his services, and the women, the girls that he exploited in those moments. Certainly, there's questions about this facility. How was he left alone? Why didn't he have a roommate? Why wasn't he checked more often than just every 30 minutes? And so on and so on. But this is another moment, and the Attorney General today suggested there be a significant investigation as to what happened. But this is a moment, again, where the president had a chance to. People were really stunned by this. There's a real sense that these girls, now women, should have their moment of justice, that he should be held accountable for what happened. They're now deprived of that. And this is a moment where the president, could have said nothing, or he could have tried to strike some sort of unifying tone. But instead, again, his instinct is to fan the flames. His instinct is to take a shot at a political enemy. And in this case, not just a predecessor, Bill Clinton, but also his 2016 political opponent. Mind you, the woman who the president would stand in front of chairs of lock her up.
Yep.
And here he is basically implicating her in a crime. So I think there's a lot of sense here that this is another moment where this president doesn't just defy norms, but does so in potentially a dangerous way.
Aaron Blake and Frank Figliuzzi, thank you both for spending time with us. The panel is staying here on set with me.